Welcome to Dementia Friendly Prince George's County, Maryland Northern Sector webinar series for caregivers. Today's topic is setting healthy boundaries, presented by Joan Jackson and sponsored by the Prince George's County government and the Department of Family Services. Before we begin, I just want to give some brief announcements of some programs and some resources that we are offering at Greenbelt. So to start off, we are offering free memory screenings for anybody who would like to attend. Um, we're in partnership with the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, and these memory screenings are confidential. They're one-on-one, and they're informational and a caring first step, and they're not a diagnosis. To schedule an appointment, please call me at 240-241-0037 or Canella at 410-575-4058. Also, I would like to quickly mention that we also have dementia-friendly courses that will help you become a dementia friend. Through a short online training, you can learn how dementia affects daily life, how it improves communication and support skills, and how to help create a more inclusive and understanding community. It only takes a short time to complete, and you'll receive a certificate upon completion. And you can register at dfaamerica.org/become-a-dementia-friend. Small actions truly make a big difference. And we know that dementia impacts not just individuals, but families and caregivers as well, which is why at the GALE program, we also are offering free caregiver support groups. And we are both in person and at the Greenbelt Community Center and virtually via Zoom. These groups provide a welcoming space to connect, share experiences, and receive encouragement. First off, we have the Memory Cafe, where pre-registration is required. And it's a stigma-free environment for individuals with early detection, stage Alzheimer's disease, and mild cognitive impairment or other dementias, along with their caregivers and loved ones. We also host special virtual programs like See Me at the Smithsonian, offering engaging and interactive experiences. And if you are feeling isolated or looking for a connection, please reach out. You are not alone. Right, and for tonight's presentation, I will ask that everyone refrain from asking any questions so as to not interrupt the presentation until the end, when I open the discussion up for questions. And you are welcome to leave your questions in the chat at any time. Now, let's begin tonight's presentation. And I will let Joan take it on from here. Let me pull up your slides real quick.
Great.
All right, we may begin.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Joan Jackson. I'm a former family caregiver for my now deceased father. I'm a certified senior advisor and a member of the Prince George's Senior Provider Network and the Prince George's chapter and the national chapter of the National Aging in Place Council. I have written several books, one of them being Healthy Boundaries for the Family Caregiver, Setting Limits with Love and Respect. And what I have found is setting healthy boundaries for yourself as a caregiver is tantamount to you being able to go the long haul, not just for your loved one, but for yourself. And as it says, this presentation is about support for you, the family caregivers who you feel stretched, overwhelmed, or emotionally depleted. And I give you practical tools for setting limits with clarity, compassion, and respect. Next, please. So, why this conversation matters? Because many caregivers are doing more than they ever expected to do. None of us, I will say this, none of us are prepared for when we get that call that says your loved one is in distress, and all of a sudden, within a split second, you are a family caregiver, a primary caregiver. And let me say this, a family caregiver doesn't mean that you're necessarily taking care of a blood relative. You could be taking care of a friend, a neighbor, someone in your church, a significant other. Um, it runs the gamut from someone taking care of a loved one when they're in their 80s to children who are taking care of a disabled parent. So caregivers there are millions of caregivers in this country alone. And so love can slowly turn into overload when there are no clear limits, limits to healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are not about caring less. Let me say that again. Healthy boundaries are not about caring less for your loved one, yourself, and your folks around you. And healthy boundaries are about caring in a wiser, steadier, and more sustainable way. Here is a key reminder. Boundaries are not walls. They're not meant to block people out. They're not meant to block out what's going on inside of you. They're not meant to block out the needs of those you're caring for. They are guidelines that protect your energy, clarity, your relationships, and the quality of care you give. Next, please. So today's roadmap, this is what we're going to cover. What healthy boundaries are and why they'll matter so much to you. Signs of caregiver overload, the difference between helping and overextending. How to communicate limits in a healthy way. That's the operative word, people. Healthy. Small, realistic steps towards more balance and resources for continued support. So listen to this. You do not need to change everything at once. One usable idea this week that you can take away from this is enough to begin. Just like everything in life, if you go at something gun ho and you go like the tortoise and the hare, the old Aesop fable, and you're running and rushing, trying to get to that goal instead of going at a slow, steady, sustainable pace so you don't burn out. And then when you burn out, then you get overwhelmed, you get short tempered, your loved one picks up on it, they get agitated, especially if they have dementia, especially. Then they're upset and then you're upset, and it's like a snowball effect. So learning healthy boundaries with yourself, with your loved one, and with others is important. Next slide, please. The reality of caregiver strain. Here's why so many caregivers feel depleted. And I am a witness to that because I had been through it. My husband and I went through it, and we loved my dad dearly. But we were caregivers. Caregiving responsibilities, they often grow gradually over time, gradually. And you get that buildup. What begins as helping can become constant physical, emotional, and mental labor. Many caregivers feel responsible for everything and everyone. Let me stop right there. Folks, none of us can do it all. As a matter of fact, and I'll be blunt about this, I care about you, but I'll be blunt. Thinking you can do it all is a form of pride, and pride comes before the fall. Believe me, it does. I will get to why you can't do it all and what you can do about it. Without limits, stress builds into resentment, guilt, fatigue, and confusion. I'm sure some of you can relate to that already. Sustainable care requires attention to your well being also. It is not about being selfish. What often happens? Your errands become appointments. Appointments become crisis response. And many caregivers do not realize how much has expanded until they are exhausted. Next slide, please. What boundaries really are. Folks, boundaries are not rejection. I want you to change your mindset because when we become caregivers, most of us, and I would say 99.9% of us, are learning on the fly. And that's rough. That is rough. Boundaries are clear limits around what you can do and what you cannot do. They define what is realistic, respectful, and sustainable. They protect your time, your energy, your health, and your emotional capacity. Boundaries, healthy boundaries, they help reduce confusion, miscommunication, and resentment. And boundaries support better care by helping you remain steady and present. Here's a core definition. A boundary is an honest limit that helps you act from intention rather than exhaustion or pressure. Next, please. More importantly, here's what boundaries are not. Common misunderstandings. Boundaries are not about a lack of love, folks. I want you to get that through to yourself. Boundaries are not a lack of love on your part. They are not about selfishness. You're not being selfish. Many of us, we grew up in an era when we say, oh Lord, if we don't give and we just don't do it all, then we're being selfish. If we take time out for ourselves, if we go for a walk, I mean, if we go and sit in the car just to catch our breath or whatever, or we go and sit on the front porch or go in a room and close the door. Ooh, that's about being selfish. No, it's not. No, it's not, folks. We're only human. It's not about selfishness. Boundaries are not shutting other people out. Boundaries are not being cold or uncaring. And they're not about controlling others. You may say, for instance, I really can't do that right now. Let's look at another way to do that. And you get all that old guilt trip starts to go in your mind. Oh, I'm shutting them out. I'm cutting them off. I'm not being a good caregiver. I'm not being a good daughter, son, husband, wife, friend, whoever. It's not about that. Boundaries are about taking responsibility for your own limits and choices. Refrain. Real love includes honesty with yourself and others, respect for yourself and your limits, and the limits of others, your loved one, and those who may be stepping in to help, or just friends. And sustainability, being able to go it the long haul for whatever amount of time the caregiver journey lasts. Next, please. Signs of caregiver overload. When helping has started to cost way too much, you feel exhausted even after sleeping. You are more irritable, impatient, or you're just emotionally numb. You dread that phone ringing, you're getting calls, requests from others, either your loved one or family or friends, or caregiving tasks. You dread doing them. You start to dread to do them. You also feel guilty whenever you rest or say no. Folks, no is a complete sentence. That's called being honest with yourself and being honest with other people. You have little time for your own health, your work, your family, or even time for you to recover from being so worn out. You feel alone in this journey, resentful of your loved one. And I don't, why, or resenting if you're, say, the primary caregiver, and maybe some families or well-meaning friends, all of a sudden you get radio silence or crickets when you call upon them, and you feel so alone. Folks, if that happens, there are other resources that we will talk about that you can tap into. You keep pushing through even though you are running on empty. That's when you have to learn healthy boundaries and when to say, I need to stop and I need to catch my breath. The world is not going to stop revolving. Your loved one is going to be okay until you can catch your breath, and then you can start up again. Please remember, overload is not proof of weakness. That just means you're taking, look, you have stepped up. It is a gift. You have stepped up to the plate to help this loved one. And folks, and I'm going to be real, sometimes you have to step up and you may not like that person. You may have a history with that person. It could be a parent, and that parent may have abused you when you were younger. However, emotionally, physically, whatever, and all those tapes are playing back. You may be taking care of a spouse that has been toxic, but there all of a sudden you're a caregiver and you're stepping up to the plate. So you applaud yourself. Applaud yourself for stepping up, even if you love that person to death. Okay? Some people have children who are special needs. You're a caregiver. You're a caregiver. I had a sister who was born profoundly mentally challenged, and this was back in the early 60s. And my parents had to work full time. That was back during a time when there were limited resources. And so they were caregivers. And my brother and I were also caregivers to our sister. We had to step in. So I understand that. Please remember, it is a signal that the situation needs more support, more clarity, and more limits. Next, please. A key distinction between helping and overextending. Helping supports a real need, not every need. Overextending comes from guilt, fear, pressure, or plain habit. Helping preserves your dignity and the dignity of your loved one and choice. Overextending, you're ignoring your own limits, physical limits, emotional limits, whatever. Helping respects your capacity, yours. Overextending yourself creates stress and resentment. Helping can be done consistently over time, just like the turtle. It just goes at that pace and finally it gets to a finish line, whatever that may be. Overextending often becomes unsustainable. You're going to burn yourself out. The next thing you know, you're stretched out, your loved one's stretched out, you're looking at each other. Who's going to take care of you all? Think of it that way. And then can Overextending can lead one person to carry what should be shared. Big insight. Not every act of care is healthy care. Why? Because sometimes when you're caring, it can be done in a way you're exhausted, you're tired, you're rushing, you're snatching, uh, you're mumbling under your breath, and or you're yelling at you're ticking off at your loved one, and they're getting upset, then you're getting upset for getting upset with them, and on and on and on. So not every act of care is healthy. A useful question to keep in mind is, what can I realistically give without harming myself? Next, please. Why is it so hard to set limit, folks? We all know how this is, not only in caregiving, but in life, in other relationships. Here are the emotional barriers to boundaries. Fear of being seen as selfish or uncaring. We, we worry about what other folks think. I get it, but guess what? They're not in your shoes. Yes, you ask for help. They may give you their advice, and you can say, thank you very much. I'll keep that in consideration and keep it moving. Guilt about not doing more. Here's a big one, folks. Family expectations and old relationship patterns. You get that extra special loving relative that loves to give advice. And if I were you, and I think you should do it this way, and mama never did like this, or dad never did appreciate that. And you're hearing this on and on and on. And then sometimes when you call on them, well, I need help, radio silence. But we'll get to a point about that later. You worry about conflict or disappointment. That goes with those relationships, especially family relationships. Belief that a good caregiver should handle everything. I'm putting this again in this presentation to say no one can do it all. And that's okay. And fear that if you do not do it, no one will. No, folks, there are resources. Some are free, some are paid. You have to pay, but some are free. You can look. The I remember it, I'm a baby boomer. And I grew up, of course, my parents were older and were born in the early 30s. And so growing up and those old family beliefs that no, don't share what's going on in the house. We can take care of everything. We don't want to be ashamed or what. We don't want people to think we can't do it all. Let me tell you something, throw that out the window. Folks, this is a new day. Reach out, let people know what's going on. Let your close friends know. Let people in your church or your faith community know. You don't know who's going through the same thing. You don't know who may be of help to you. Letting your pastor or your rabbi or whoever, your faith leader, know what's going on. People love to help. Some people don't. Some people just can't. They can't emotionally step up to the plate. And that goes for your relatives too, folks. They may not be able to emotionally help you. They may not be able to financially or physically help you. So when someone doesn't step up to the plate for you, especially when it's a relative, don't get resentful because that is doing nothing but hurting you. You just say, the person, it is what it is. We don't know everything that goes on behind someone's closed doors, or what's going on within them emotionally. So you let it go and you find another resource to help you. It just getting that resentment will burn you out even more. You have to learn to let certain things go. Choose your battles wisely. And so why it feels personal? Because boundary setting is hard, because it touches our emotional, our history, our identity, and family dynamics, not just the logistics of how to set things up for your loved one. Next slide, please. Practical examples. What healthy boundaries can sound like. And I just gave you some examples here, but you can tailor them to how you would respond. I can help with appointments on Tuesdays, but I'm not available every day. I'm not able to respond to non-urgent calls late at night. You get those loving relatives that love to call after 9 or 10 o'clock, and you're worn out. You may be working full-time or part-time, and you have to come home and take over caregiving. Or you may have had to leave your job to take care of your loved ones. So many people have had to do that. And you're going to get that person that you've got to respect your time. You have to say, you know what? Um, you can, if it's urgent, you can text me. Or if otherwise, do not call me after 7 p.m. and do not call before 8 a.m. Another one, I can do this one part, but I can't manage all of it alone. There may be certain things that you are going to need help with, physically or whatever. Another one, I need advance notice when possible. We all know those folks that want to call on you at the last minute. It may be their turn looking after your loved one. Then you get a call. I've got a call. I've got to go to see so and so. I need you to come over here right now. No, no. You set up those healthy boundaries with if you have a caregiving group like siblings or other family members or good friends, and say, when something comes up, I need advance notice when possible. When possible. Another one, I care about you and I also need time to rest. That's something you can say to your loved one if they're cognitively able to understand it, or to another person who is helping you to take care of that person. But you can just be honest. I care about you. That's starting it off on a positive note. And not but and I also need time to rest. And then the next one, we need more support than one person can provide. And so this is important, folks. You know the old saying, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Tone matters. Boundaries do not have to sound harsh. They can be calm, clear, and respectful. They don't have to be harsh. Now, I don't want you to beat yourself up if sometimes it comes off a little bit on the harsh side. Excuse me. You just keep that in the back of your mind. Tone matters. It really does, especially when you're talking or communicating with the person you're caring for. Trying to keep the tone, the level of your voice down, and realize this is important, especially if your loved one has dementia. Realize that that person did not ask to have dementia. They did not ask to have a stroke or limited capabilities. Keeping that in mind, and keeping in mind that you didn't, quote, sign up to be a family caregiver. That wasn't something that you necessarily went to school for, but it is what it is. So keep that in mind. And when you look at the person you're caring for and realizing they don't want to be like that, they don't want to be incontinent. They don't want to be having you put on their Depends or clean them up, or bathe them. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Next, please. Clear calm, compassionate. It's a simple formula for boundary conversations. Step one, name the reality. This has to go with steps in a conversation. I want to help and I'm reaching my limit. Then you state your boundary. Number two, I can't keep doing this every day. Step three, offer the next step if appropriate. Let's look at another option. We need to share this responsibility. I can help with part of it, but not all of it. So naming what is true, naming, just saying, tell the truth. Because if you keep it in, that resentment builds up, that stress builds up in you. Stress affects your body, and it sure enough stresses your mind. Then you state the boundary. I can't, and state it clearly. I cannot do this, and I can't do it every day, or whatever, put in what you need to say. And then, if possible, offer a solution, offer a plan B instead of, leaving it up to the other person, or the other person may come up with a good idea. Useful mindset. You do not need a perfect script, folks. Just keeping these things in the back of your mind as something you need to do. Call it being honest, saying what you can and can't do, and if possible, give an alternative. You need a calm structure that helps you stay clear and grounded. Next, please. Excuse me. Language you can borrow. If you'd like to take a screenshot of this with your phone, you can. I'm happy to. I also have my book that has a lot more in it. And here are some scripts, healthy boundary scripts. I'm not able to do that today. I can help with this part, but not that part. That does not work for me. This is a good one. And this goes for anything. You don't have to answer or do something on a split second. I need time to think before I answer. I can do this. I can't do this alone anymore. I need us to make a more sustainable plan. That's either talking to your loved one or talking to your additional caregiving group. Saying yes to everything is no longer working. I'm saying no to this. Now, this is really important. This is something to say to your loved one. I'm saying no to this so I can continue showing up well. See, that involves them. That's showing them, or that may be showing another caregiver that's helping you out, that you're trying to take care of yourself so you can show up better and be better for them and help them even more so. And in an indirect way, in their mind, that's including them in this and saying, oh, they're doing this for me as well. It's not about them. A practice tip I want you to do. Choose one or two lines that feel natural and keep them nearby until they become easier to say. Just like anything, folks, practice makes perfect, but just remember, you don't have to remember things verbatim. Just know a process in your mind and keeping things clear and honest. Clear and honest communication. But be clear. Next, please. Even, here we go. Even healthy change can feel uncomfortable, and it does. What to expect when you set your boundaries? And this is a given. Other people may feel surprised or resistant at first. They're gonna say, "Oh, really? Oh, and they're probably saying, "Gee, I thought Joan, she just stepped up to everything, and now she's pushing back, or now she's being selfish." So you're gonna find that may happen, or they're just not gonna understand. You may feel guilt even when you are doing the right thing because you're trying to get rid of that old mindset, folks. Get it? And it's hard. So don't beat yourself up. When you feel that guilt, just remember, up, let me put that on the back burner. I don't need to feel guilty. Or just say in your mind, I don't need to feel guilty about this. I don't need to feel guilty about this. A boundary may need to be repeated more than once with your loved ones, with those loving relatives, with even sometimes when you bring in professional caregivers, there may be something that you say, specifically you don't want or you want done, and they may not do it a certain way. So clearly and calmly, keep repeating it. Clarity is kinder than silent resentment. Speaking up, can't keep, you say, oh, I have to keep this in. I don't want to seem like I'm always complaining. No, you're not complaining. You are voicing a need. You are voicing a healthy boundary, which in the long run is better for everyone. Everyone. Consistency matters more than perfection. Don't try to be perfect, folks. It's not going to work. You do the best you can with what you have. And boundaries get easier with practice, just like everything else. You have to learn. You have to change that mindset. And so give yourself grace. Important reminder, just because a boundary feels hard does not mean it is wrong. Next slide, please. I want you to start where you are. Small steps. You don't have to do it all at once. I don't want you to. Small steps towards more balance. So what do? Identify one area where you now feel overextended. Just one. Then I want you to choose one limit you need most right now. Really think about this. I want you to take, if you can, a screenshot of this page. Write down one sentence you can use. Maybe pick one of the ones I had, and I want you to tailor it to you and your situation and your personality. Ask one person for one specific kind of help. I want you to do it. Make sure you trust the person, especially when they're in your home. Schedule one block of time for your own rest and recovery, whatever that block of time is. It could even be 15 minutes, but that's your time. That's your de-stress time. Or if it's a half hour, half a day, let me tell you something. When my husband and I uh, moved back here from California, and we're living here in Maryland, in Upper Marlboro, we had my dad with us, and we hit the ground running. I was starting a business. My husband was going back and forth into DC to refurbish my parents' house so it could be put on the market, and coming back here and taking care of my dad while I was out marketing, all of that. And we realized, now there were two of us, dearly loved my dad, took good care of him. I had to call on a colleague of mine who has a non-medical in-home care business and say, we need respite care, folks. And I called on a non-medical in-home care business. I knew the owner, and I told them, and I'll share with you, it was Visiting Angels of Prince George's County. They got, when do you need it? Right away. We'll have a nurse there tomorrow, evaluate the situation. You let us know the time, how many days a week and how many hours per day. And yes, we had to pay out of pocket. Folks, it was worth every dime. That person just stayed with my dad, looked after him, sat there, talked with him, watched TV with him. If he wanted, something to eat, I told him, Fix, if you wanted to fix something, here's that. And perfect. They were wonderful. I highly recommend respite care. Take a break, folks. It's worth the investment. Notice guilt without letting it make your decisions. Very important. Notice guilt. When guilt comes, don't make a decision out of guilt. Don't let it make your decisions for you. Remember, small boundaries can create meaningful change. So this week, one single boundary, such as protecting one evening, limiting late night calls, or sharing one task, can start shifting your whole experience. Just one. And then you start to build up on it, and you add another and another, and it becomes easier and better for you. Next slide, please. My closing encouragement to you folks. I can't say how much I applaud you as stepping up to the plate to be a caregiver. I cannot say it. I know how difficult it is, especially if you're working full-time or part-time, especially if you're in what I call the sandwich generation. You're taking care of elderly relatives. You also have children in school, and you're working, and you're in the middle, and you're getting squeezed. Caring wisely and well is so important to all of you. You do not have to do everything to be loving. Limits can be compassionate. Folks, rest is not a reward, it is a need. Self-care, this is a famous quote, self-care is not selfish. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. Clear communication can protect relationships. Absolutely. Boundaries help make care more respectful and sustainable, and supporting yourself is part of supporting your loved one. It's part of it. It's not separate. It all goes together. And here's a closing line. Boundaries are not about loving less. They are about creating the conditions that allow love and care to continue in healthier ways. Next slide, please. So I want you to continue the journey. These are some resources that I have created. I have on the right, these are books that I have written. They are available on Amazon. As you can see, the first one touches upon what we've been discussing, talking about tonight. Healthy boundaries for the family caregiver, setting limits with love and respect. For those of you who are in the senior or you're about to retire, or when you think about retiring, abundant aging in place, how to be better prepared for the best phase of your life. Why did I write this? Because even back in my mid 40s, I said, you know what? When my husband and I get older, we want to age in the comfort of our own home as much as possible. So in that book are resources, holistic resources, financial, legal, physical, mental, that you can use to prepare yourself, even if you're, in your 60s or your 70s or 80s, I don't care. If you're aging in place, you may want to use that book as a resource. And the last one, The Connected Caregiver, a practical guide for long distance support, advocacy, and peace of mind. I wrote this out of my husband and my own experience. As a long distance caregiver until we had to come out and take my dad and drive 4.5 days back across country with my dad, who is sundowning. That was an experience. But just knowing your loved one is living by themselves or wherever. A long distance caregiver is a caregiver who is at least 1 hour or more away from their loved ones. So this is a practical guide for that. And then I created an online self-paced course and it is for sale at a reasonable price. Boundaries and balance for family caregivers. It gives gentle, practical, self-paced support for caregivers who need clarity, tools, and encouragement that can return so they can return to as life changes. This is something that can be purchased once. You have it forever. You can stop it. You can start it when you like. You can go back over it. I speak through it. There are resources you can download. And so when you go to my website, balancedabundantliving.com, on the home page, as you scroll down, there is a URL, or you can even click on it. That area is hyperlinked and it will take you to the page that explains the course, who it's for and who it's for not. So folks, I hope this has helped. I understand where you are. Even though I'm a former caregiver, there's no thing that says that I may need to be a caregiver again. And I want you to walk away from this feeling more empowered to take care of you. So thank you so much for your time, and take care of yourself.